Good evening, boxing fans. And what the heck happened to my video? Welcome to Enter the Ring Live for Tuesday, May the 24th, 2022, with AJ Rage and Mighty Mike Mendiola. We are missing Eric the Red, who's currently dealing with I guess we could say it, right? His puppy's not feeling well.
So Bo's not feeling well, huh?
Yeah, Bobo's got something going on. He's got a mass or something.
Poor little guy. Great dog, dude.
Yeah, so we're back. We're back after another couple of weeks hiatus. We've all just been super busy. Got a lot to talk about today. We're going to obviously talk about this past weekend's fights. We're going to talk about developments for this coming week's fights, and then obviously some news and notes for fights coming up that are either in the works right now or have been officially signed. One of them, I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I guess Canelo made a decision on what he's going to do next. So.
Yeah, and not to get ahead of ourselves either, but so I guess he's decided against the rematch with Bivol, and he's going to go out against Gennady, which I think is a smart bet. I mean, based off his performance with Bivol, it's just I don't really see a really change in the result,
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into this past weekend's action real quick. I guess we got a lot to talk about, so we'll wait till Eric joins us towards the end of the show to talk about everybody's what's been going on in everybody's different corners of the world. So
yeah.
All righty. Well, let's start with that ESPN card, because I thought of the two, to me, that was a lesser, to me, that fight had lesser importance, even though the main event did declare an interim champion, whatever you want to call it. So ESPN, that one came from Resorts World in Vegas, right?
Yes, it did.
And we had, let's see, the undercard, Jamal Herring comes back after his one-sided defeat to Shakur Stevenson and loses to this, what's the kid's name? Jermaine Ortiz?
Jermaine Ortiz. Out of Las Vegas, actually.
Yeah, loses a 10-round unanimous decision. I mean, there was a couple rounds there where I thought maybe Herring might have been able to, start kind of swaying it in his favor, the fight. And then quickly you saw that he just doesn't have anything left. In fact, I don't think he had anything left when he fought Shakur, but.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I mean, going into the fight, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in Herring, especially, based off of his defeat to Shakur. It was in a weight issue. Herring's never had an issue making 130 or bouncing back from 130 to 135.
Yep.
Going in against a guy who honestly thought was even faster than Shakur in Ortiz, a guy who I thought was very underrated, a guy that they were completely overlooking. You look at the way the guy fights, he's basically a re-energized version of Shakur, a guy but the difference between Ortiz and Shakur is Ortiz would throw these massive combinations if Herring was having issues dealing with Shakur's low output, how are you going to deal with the fast output of an Ortiz?
Yeah, he was throwing at times 4 or 5 punch combinations.
Yeah.
Whereas Shakur takes a safety first approach. He'll throw maybe 1, 2, maybe 3, and then he gets out. And it doesn't even matter who he's fighting. That's just his, he's a safety first fighter, which leads him to not being an exciting fighter. He's just not an exciting fighter. Even his dominant victory over Valdez, it wasn't an exciting, entertaining fight at all.
I'll go back to the thing with Valdez. I don't think it's so much what Shakur did. I think that's what Valdez didn't do. And I think that falls back on the Reynosos. I think it showed in the Canelo fight. Maybe a lot of the conjecture that's out there and stuff about the Reynosos being a bit overrated and stuff, it's starting to come to fruition.
Here's how I think about that. A lot of guys want to pile on and blah, 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 and say things, they use the term expose, this and that. Listen, it's like anything. It's like a football team. I mean, New England Patriots had their heyday recently, but if anybody remembers, there was a lot of years where they didn't do so well. Bill Belichick coached other teams in the past and didn't have nearly the success he did with New England Patriots. Sometimes it's a little bit more than sometimes it's just getting a little bit lucky. It's timing, and everybody has their ups and downs. Right now, the Reynosos are in a bit of a down. I mean, granted, they still have the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. Canelo's still a 4-belt holder, one division south of 175. So you can't say anything there. But yeah, Valdez didn't look all that good. They did lose Ryan Garcia. Andy Reese, I don't even know, is he even training with Reynosos anymore?
No, Andy Reese left. He's working with Manny Robles now, full on.
Again, back with Manny Robles?
Back with Manny Robles.
After all that SHIT that was talked, unreal. I didn't even know that. Anyways, so Jamal Herring, I mean, you can't hate, you got to like the guy. He seems like a fair guy, but he doesn't have the mindset to me to be a killer in the sport.
Well, it kind of surprised me because he's supposedly a killer in his other life, being an ex-Marine,
a gunner or whatever he was.
He doesn't bring that, I'm not trying to come down on the guy, but I mean, I never saw anything special in Jamal Herring. A lot of people go back to his what was his career highlight victory against, the Jackal, Carl Frampton. But let's be honest, Frampton was already in the great days of his career. And you look at the size difference. I mean, Frampton had no business fighting at that weight. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
That was 2 full divisions north of
Right,
where Frampton
yeah.
started.
Exactly.
And there were a lot of people called Herring a weight bully because he really should have been fighting at 135, but for some reason the bone density wasn't there, kind of like maybe in Benavidez, where he's able to shed down to the 130-pound limit, but then he probably balloons right back up to welterweight. So anyways, Jamal Herring, if this is the end of his career, I think he earned a well-deserved retirement, and maybe he started talking, he made a mention about commentating or something like that. And I'm sure he'll be good behind the mic, and I'm sure Bob Arum will find a spot for him. Maybe he could take Tim Bradley's place. I wouldn't have a problem with
Bradley, dude. I'd take Clarissa Shields over Tim Bradley at this point. I'm telling you, I'm about done with him, but that's another thing.
All right, let's jump to the main event really quick. And I can't even say his name, but it's
Janibek.
Zanabek, whatever his last name is, we'll call him Kazakh style. He wins. He fights for the vacant interim WBO middleweight championship, held currently still by Demetrius Andrade. A lot of people said that Andrade, feigned an injury or whatever to avoid the mandatory, which allowed this fight to take place. Don't know. What do you say about Janibek? Yeah, like you said earlier before we came on the air, he looks great, but who's he fighting? This guy, Danny Dignam, I mean, a 14-0 fighter with 1 draw. What do you have, like 7 or 8 KOs? He really was. Talk about a mismanagement of your career by his management team. The kid should have waited, got 5-6 more fights under his belt. If they hadn't waited,
I honestly don't think that would have even helped that kid at that point. There's some people that I guess you could call it like, when you talk about a local product, he's about as local as they get. I mean, his biggest victory is going to be over the guy who runs a grocery store and the guy who sweeps the back alley. He's not a boxer. He's a guy that belongs on this funny show that me and my brother Eric were watching the other day called, I think it was called Rock and Roll Boxing or something, where it was one step up from a tough man competition. The guy leads with his head. Fundamentally, does everything wrong. How that guy had an undefeated record, how that guy was even rated is it blows my mind when there's so many more qualified people. So when Janibek makes the argument, when he tries to say things like Jaime Munguia and Demetrius Andrade and all these other people don't want to fight him, but then this is who you're able to dig up. Believe me, there's other guys out there that are more than willing to step up and take that bout. I guarantee you, if that bout would have been put out there for, say, a guy like a Liam Smith would have took that bout in a heartbeat. The thing is, Janibek is yet to fight a guy who's actually naturally a 160 pounder or a guy that actually has any real ability. Look at all the fighters that Janibek has fought. They're guys on the downside of their career. They're stepping up. It's always good to look that way. You're always going to look good that way. That's how Beck the Bully built his career. And you saw what happened when he got in there with the guy who could actually throw a straight punch at Gabe Rosado. The same thing is going to happen with Janibek. When he gets in there, he's not going to be able to do those head fakes where he leaves his head out there like a worm on a hook. It ain't going to happen, man.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I've seen him fight a few times. To me, even what I saw with the demolition of Danny Dignam, to me, I didn't see anything special. I just saw a guy that was completely fighting a guy that was overmatched. That's all I saw. And for him to throw disparaging words towards someone like Munguia, why would Munguia waste his time fighting you? Why would he waste his time fighting you? You bring nothing to the table. Not only that, contractually, Jaime Munguia is with DAZN. Janibek is signed with Top Rank, right? I mean, logistically, they can maybe make it work, but at this stage in the career, it doesn't make any sense. A couple years down the line, it might make sense. It just didn't make any sense right now. It doesn't.
Well, I don't believe anybody's running. There's bigger fish out there to fry.
Yeah, Munguia has established himself as a draw. He's headlining cards in big arenas, like we saw him in Anaheim. He's fought in San Antonio. He's fought in Monterrey, Mexico. He's fought in Las Vegas. He's headlining big events. This guy's fighting at small little entertainment venues in Las Vegas.
And let's be honest, Janibek's not the person who brought the people to fill those seats. It was probably Ortiz, who's a local product right there from Las Vegas, that and Jamal
Herring as well. Yeah.
Herring is a big military presence out there in Las Vegas. But
I just don't like when fighters get ahead of themselves. It's like, and I don't care who it is, use a little bit of humility. You know what I mean?
A little bit of discretion, a little bit, I mean, the problem is with Janibek is that he's getting his head filled, and it's okay because who was the same way was Beck the Bully. They were saying the same thing about Beck the Bully. Beck the Bully was already calling out guys like Gennady Golovkin and you name it. You know, he was ready to step in there, and you saw what happened. The thing is that if nobody's running from Janibek, if there is a fighter who made it perfectly clear that he didn't want the fight, that's Demetrius Andre. Janibek was his mandatory. Demetrius Andre decided for some reason to make this jump to 168. Then he had this fight coming up, and then he got this injury. So
Zach Parker.
That's
right?
the only one. Yeah, that's the only one that I know of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of anybody else running from Janibek. The guy's 29 years old. No one's going to run from a guy who's got 11 fights and he's 29 years old. It ain't going to happen.
No, I agree.
You know?
I agree. I mean, the jury's still out on the guy. I mean, yes, he's got a good amateur career. Yes, he's got skills, but like I said, and you said, we have to see him in better competition. And for him to just say, "Oh, these guys are running for me. We made the offers." It's like, yeah, your word against theirs. They'll say something completely different. They see it completely different. But
there's a lot of guys in the middleweight division that could test that theory. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys out there in the middleweight division. Right? Gabe Rosado's always up for a fight. Throw Gabe Rosado in there. A matter of fact, you know what? Let David Lemieux step back down from 168 and let him go after him. There's a lot of guys out there that could test that theory. You got Liam Smith. You got a lot of good fighters out there. A matter of fact, even throw him Liam Williams, a guy who was a victim to Demetrius Andre, but at least he's a guy who could throw a straight punch. Putting a Danny Dignam in there and then making it seem like this guy is the next Twinkie, it's not going to work, man. You know, if you're in there beating a guy who's actually done something in his boxing career, Danny Dignam's done nothing.
Yeah, you're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling
anybody, man. You're not even fooling the casual fans anymore. They're not that dumb anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, nobody's fooled by this guy. He definitely doesn't have the appeal that a Triple G had coming out, 7-8 years ago when he was hitting his stride. He doesn't have that appeal at all.
I hate to say it, but the only guy that I would consider, what would you be considered? Eastern European, Mike? I don't know. What would that be considered?
Yeah, Eastern European, Kazakh. It's
there's only one fighter that can set the world on fire, and that's Lomachenko. That's the only one I want. Him and Usyk, the only two I care about. Let's be honest. Gennady's okay. Bibble's forgettable. This guy Janibek, forgettable. It's just those two guys. Oh, maybe Beterbiev. I like him too. He's another one. He's a guy who comes in there and says, if I don't beat you, I'm going to eat you. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, let's jump over to the fight that took place on Showtime. And that was from right here. Was that
Carson? Was it Carson?
Was it No.
Ontario.
That's right, Ontario. The Toyota Arena right here in Ontario. Yeah. So David Benavidez took on David Lemieux. I mean, battle tested David Lemieux, a guy who's fought just about any and everybody. He's fought Triple G. He fought Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, he's fought a lot of guys over the years. And I was really shocked when I saw this fight was taking place. I didn't even think Lemieux was actually still active. So as much as I want to give Dave Benavidez credit for being the monster that he is, I have to say the same thing I just said about Janibek. David's best days are behind him. Yes, he did do what he was supposed to do. He did demolish him. And if you compare and contrast the two, Janibek beat somebody that we would have never heard of and we'll never heard of again. Whereas at least Benavidez beat, a guy who's had a great career. I think Lemieux's had a great career,
a proven ring warrior. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I mean, I think the only thing that it's going to be the drawback on this bout with David Benavidez is just a size comparison. I mean, Lemieux to me was always small for a middleweight. So at 168, he looked just he just looked so tiny compared to David. David looked like a heavyweight compared to him. I mean, I take my hat off to Lemieux for taking those punches, and even to the bitter end when his corner stopped the fight, David was going to go out on a shield. He wasn't giving up. I mean, he was going to do what he had to do. But it was hard to watch at the very end, but it doesn't really blow me away about David going in there. It'd be different if David went there and did that to maybe a guy like a Daniel Jacobs or one of these other, people that are in that division, or even a Callum Smith. But to do that to David Lemieux, it just doesn't really sit well with me.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't even know. I mean, is there anybody? I'm sorry. Is there anybody just not willing to take that fight with Benavidez? He's just having a hard time securing guys to fight him, or what's the deal?
Well, I don't know. Did you watch when Liam Smith beat Jesse Vargas? Did you hear what Liam Smith said about his brother Callum? Okay, Callum stepped up to 175. Why Callum stepped up to 175, right? He couldn't get a fight with Benavidez. He kept Contracto trying to get a fight with Benavidez, and Benavidez' people kept saying, no. Remember, David was having issues, this like this. So he got frustrated. Nobody wanted to fight Callum Smith other than Canelo Alvarez at 168. So he moved to 175, and that's where he's campaigning. It was never a weight issue, you know? So for Benavidez.
And to me, that would be a more telling fight and a fair fight, because you got Callum Smith, who's a big guy as well.
And I think that's why Benavidez' people kind of veered away from it, because David gives away the one thing advantage that he's always going to have at 168, and that's height.
Height and reach. Yeah.
Yep. He's going to have that against guys like Caleb Plant, Canelo Alvarez, Billy Joe Saunders, but not against Callum Smith. Technically, he's shorter than Callum Smith. Callum Smith's a little taller.
Yeah. So, Callum Smith's a big boy. So
yeah. And he's a guy that can pop, and he's a guy, I mean, he showed how strong he is at 175. That's a guy who I think is completely being overlooked at 175 based off of his last couple of victories. He's destroying people at 175. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Where do you think Benavidez goes from here now? Does he stay at 168 and try to land? He's not getting the Canelo fight. That's not happening. Canelo's already kind of made it clear that he's going to opt for that third Triple G fight.
I don't understand why Benavidez thinks Canelo would take that fight. I mean, Canelo couldn't beat Bivol, who I think Benavidez could beat Bivol. So why would he take that fight? Benavidez probably knocks Canelo out. We know he does. He's too big. He's too strong. You know, Canelo finally got in there with the guy. He's just, the size is eventually going to get to you, and the size got to him.
Yeah, and the differences with Benavidez and Bivol is Bivol too fights safety first. David doesn't.
David's going to go in there and take your head off.
David's going to go out there and try to knock you out. If you catch him and drop him, and he's been dropped before, but I mean, you're right.
But the point is, David's the type of guy that can end your career. Bivol's the type of guy that can hurt your career. David can end your career. That's the difference. So,
yeah,
you know, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see David step up to 175. I think there's more opportunities there, but that's up to the Benavidez and the Benavidez camp. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd love to see him go to 175 and fight like you said, a Zurdo. Fight a Zurdo.
Callum Smith, Zurdo,
Callum Smith.
Bivol, you got a bunch of, you even got
the UK fighter, right? What's his name?
Jean Pascal, who just beat the number one contender and Flueg, the Chinese guy. Beat him and guy comes back for 2.5 year layoff and beats this guy, drops him and beats him. I mean, what are you going to say about Jean Pascal? You know, I mean,
yeah, Jean Pascal is another David Lemieux kind of guy, both from Canada. Both guys just fight everybody.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so
let's go ahead and jump to this weekend. Obviously, the big fight everybody's excited for. I'm excited for is Gervonta Tank Davis defending his 135-pound crowns against Rolly Romero in at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, right? In New York. Yeah, interesting. I'm very interesting. I thought for sure that would be in. Why did they decide on Barclays? I don't understand over Las Vegas.
I think they decided on Barclay because Barclay, dude, they sell those freaking nacho dogs there that I hear are just amazing, dude.
Now that I think about it, Tank did relocate back
to
closer
Brooklyn
to home. No, he's from Baltimore, but I mean, he was training in Miami, so I think he's not living and training in Las Vegas anymore at Mayweather's gym. That's probably why he says, "No, I don't want to be Vegas. I want to be close." And technically, New York is probably a stone's throw from Baltimore, where his people can make the trip in. You know what I mean? A lot easier than getting to Las Vegas. So maybe that's the reasoning. So Rolly will be the fish out of water, so to speak, fighting in New York.
No, yeah, he definitely will. But I tell you, I know a lot of people are kind of signing off Rolly, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the king of predictors, but I like Rolly. To me, has said all the right things. You said it best the other day, bro. He's done a great job of self-promotion. You got to take it off for the guy. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's really Tank who's got more to lose than Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero loses his fight. He can always say, "Hey, you know what? I bit off a bigger piece of the pie than I should have and stuff. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out." But if Tank ends up losing to a guy like Rolly, like I told my wife, I go, you don't want to lose to a guy who talks like Rolly Romero. You might as well retire because you are never going to hear the end of it. Your best bet is to get a rematch, hopefully beat this guy because it ain't going to end. And if Rolly goes in there and does what he's been preaching he's going to do, and he's working his style to do it, and that's to go in there after the notoriously slow starting Tank Davis that's been exposed in the first round by guys such as Leo Santa Cruz in his last fight, Isaac Cruz, and even in his fight against Fantuna some years ago. He's notoriously slow starter. And if Rolly catches him early and hurts Tank or drops him, you see how Rolly is. He's going to go nonstop. He knows he's got no more than 3 rounds to get this fight done. And after 3 rounds, it's Tank's day, you know?
Yeah. Looks like Eric's joining us right now.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Hey, Eric, how's it going? Eric, we can't hear you. Your mic, I think your mic's off.
Yeah, he looks like he's got bad reception.
Yeah. Prior to the Isaac Cruz fight, I was on record saying that Tank should walk through Rolly, but Isaac Cruz showed something. He showed a vulnerability that Tank has. Yes, he's looked devastating in certain fights, but like Rolly said, he says you fought a weight trained. What's his name? The Puerto Rican fighter. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Gamboa?
No. Gamboa is Cuban.
Who you talking?
He fights at 140 now. God damn it.
Oh, you're not talking about Mario Barrios. He's Mexican.
No, not Mario Barrios. I'm talking about when he first blasted on the scene, when he blasted out, what's the name?
Oh, Pedraza.
When he beat Pedraza.
Pedraza was totally weight trained in that
weight
fight.
trained. He had no business fighting at that weight. Then the Leo Santa Cruz fight, he was losing the first 5 rounds of that fight before he landed that massive punch. But once again, that massive punch was against 122, 126 pounds.
He was losing it, or the fight was close against Mario Barrios.
It was a close fight till he caught him. Now, if Rolly can withstand, any of those punches that they do land, if he can withstand that, then Tank might be in for a long night, man. Because Rolly does have youth on his side. He's got size, he's got strength. Yet technically, he's very flawed, right? He's very flawed. The fights I've seen him in recently, but all it takes is that one shot to land.
Well, there was something that Rolly was doing in the gym when he was training, and I see that he caught it. I've seen it for a while, and I know that we've all kind of looked at it. And that is Tank throws. That uppercut is only usable when the opponent has his back to the ropes. You'll never see Tank land that uppercut in the middle of the ring. Never happened. When he does, Rolly kept doing this, where he would throw it, how Tank throws it, and he does that full spin all the way around. It's almost amateurish. And I'm telling you right now, Rolly understands. I got to keep my back off the ropes. I got to keep this fight in the middle of the ring where Tank is not effective. Tank is effective once he gets a fighter on the ropes. Once he's in the middle, Tank is exposed.
Because of the short arms.
You get his back on the ropes, he's exposed. But Tank can use those ropes for his uppercut because he's got this weird uppercut where he puts everything behind it and the ropes kind of hold him. In the middle of the ring, he actually loses balance, and Rolly's ready to counter that.
Yeah. Eric, how's it going?
I agree. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's another day, another thousands of dollars.
What'd you have to do? What do you have to do? The dog.
He has a mass on his leg, and so it just grew exponentially over the last.
So they had to cut it off, or what?
No, they had to do the test today, and then they're gonna, of course, get pathology or whatever, because they're gonna try and suck more money out of it. Oh, it's cancer. It's this. No, it's not. It's a fatty tumor. He had him in the past, but.
Was it bothering him? Is that why? Was it bothering him?
Yeah. It was starting to bother him because it just kind of swelled up all out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so we're just gonna be poor Bobo. He's a good dog though. He's kind of worth it, but God, he's the most expensive dog I've ever.
Yeah.
After this one, he's gonna be well in excess of a $10,000 dog. $6 million man, $10,000 dog. Anyway.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for letting me in on this. I know I'm kind of late and all, but
hey, so Eric, so real quick, I'm gonna pray for Bobo. You know how much I love Bobo. Yeah, give us your take on that.
Okay, so I think Tank might be in trouble. Like Michael was just saying, Rolly's got his flaws. He does. But what I have been seeing lately is his speed. And his punch combination that he's currently working on, it might be an ugly night for Tank.
Well, this might be a case where the size is going to be at a major disadvantage, like it happened to Canelo, like it happened to David Lemieux. It might happen to this might be a correction in the boxing world where people got to understand, hey man, there's weight divisions for a reason.
Yeah.
There's size advantages. That's why this isn't the UFC, from 20 years ago when anybody can fight anybody.
Yeah. Well, with Tank, his last couple of fights, quite honestly, I'm not impressed. I mean, he's a good fighter, but it's like he's afraid to actually engage. You know what I mean? That's my take on it anyway. It just seems like he's afraid to engage until he finds that one special spot or something. And it's just get in there, fight the damn fight, and let him fly.
Yeah,
That's how
I'll tell you what I see. It goes back to the old Rocky movie, Eye of the Tiger. And I don't see the Eye of the Tiger right now in Tank Davis. I see the Eye of the Tiger in Rolly Romero. I see Rolly Romero as a guy who's going to go in there. If they're playing chess, one guy's going to, play the waiting game, and one guy's just going to take his advantages. Rolly understands that, this is his $1 million night. This is his lotto ticket. This is his opportunity. And I love what his trainer told him. He said, listen, Rolly, how many times have we gone into a gym to spar some guy who's supposedly to be this and that and that? Didn't matter the size. What did you do? You just went in there and beat him up. He's all, we're not going to go in here and box Tank. We're going to go in there and beat him up.
Yeah.
It's sparring session time. You hit him, you hit him wherever you got to hit him.
I got to admit, I do like Coach Bullett's his demeanor. That's the demeanor you need in this kind of a fight.
You got to beat him up, man.
You got to fight fire with fire. You can't be there all docile at the podium. And the press conference, I think there's one tomorrow, I believe, right? There's one tomorrow, and then we have the weigh-in on Friday. It's going to get explosive because there's already been a lot of words back and forth, so it'll be entertaining.
Well, the thing is that, like I said, what Coach Bullitt was saying was that if Rolly treats this like a sparring session, don't even care about the ref. Let him take as many points as you want because you ain't going to win a decision. Tank's got to go out on his shield. End of story. Yep. You got to put that man to sleep. So Rolly's got to go in there and treat this like he's sparring against like he's done in the past against guys like Teofimo Lopez and all these other guys. Go in there and just beat this man up. Doesn't matter. Push him against the ropes. Hit him in the back of the head. Do whatever you got to do. Just keep hitting this guy with shots because believe me, Tank ain't been roughed up in a long time. The most closest he got getting roughed up was by Isaac the Midget Cruz, and he had a rough night. Now he's going up against a tough kid. From the streets of Las Vegas. See what you want to say about Baltimore and Ohio and all this bullshit. Las Vegas, North Las Vegas is a tough goddamn place to live. I tell you now, I'm pushing towards Rolly. I think he's got the puncher's chance. I think Tank's going to wait like he's been doing so many times. And I think that waiting game is going to cost him in the bitter end.
You think he's going to wait and try to catch Rolly?
He's going to try to catch Rolly because he knows Rolly's unorthodox and he's going to hopefully catch him. I don't think he's going to want to engage him because I think Tank knows deep in his heart. I'm going to get caught.
That's exactly what I was saying. He's just Tank tries, wait it out and finally find something that's going to work. But if Rolly gets on him quick and hard and fast, this could end up being a very ugly night.
Here's the thing. Here's the easy way to look at it, how to score the fight. Go back and watch Davis fight versus Isaac Cruz. Tank only reacted and won the rounds when Isaac initiated the attack. So Tank's going to wait for Rolly to initiate these attacks in order to counter and get the better of it. And he comes on strong at the end of the round. But the problem is Isaac Cruz doesn't have the punch output that Rolly Romero has. Rolly Romero punches in bunches where they think that was Isaac Cruz's big mistake was the fact he threw 1-2 punches, stop, then 1-2 punches. Rolly throws reckless abandonment. He throws that shit right out the window and just keeps throwing punches and punches. And he doesn't care. Eventually he catches you with some weird shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That could also be his downfall, where he can expose himself when he gets caught. But he understands that. And I think Rolly's not trying to say, he said it before. I'm not a technical fighter. I'm not a pretty fighter. I'm a mean fighter. I'm a guy with a punch. That's it.
Yeah. Very true.
Should be entertaining.
I'm not really crazy about the undercard. I looked at it. I know Aristani Lara is fighting, but the undercard is it's a complete contrast to what we saw 2 weeks ago in Carson. It seems like they should have saved one or two of those fights and just put them on this card. But I don't know why logistically, because that card over there was stacked. And we got more than enough good fights where this one, we're going to get the one, maybe we'll get another one out there. You never know. Some of these guys in the lower, the opening bouts might turn into great performance, but on paper, I'm not super excited about anything other than the main event. And that's why I'm hoping the main event doesn't just, it's not like a blowout either way, because it'll be a short night.
And it could be, Rolly goes in there and gets caught early by Tank, and it's good night because Tank's got the power to do it. But we want to see how much power Rolly really has, because if you look at the fighters that Tank's knocked out, it's not like he's knocked out a cast iron chin guy as of yet. Yeah, Leo Santa Cruz got a cast iron chin, but against guys like Abner Mares, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens.
Leo was getting beaten up his entire camp by Renee in that.
You told, yeah, you said that, yeah.
Multiple times they stopped sparring early. And that's not a knock on Leo, but he's just not a lightweight or a junior. And Renee's a junior lightweight. He's not a lightweight.
Not a lightweight. Yeah, you were
Not a
saying that.
lightweight.
Yeah.
It was stupid of him to even try to do that. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
So Mike, since we're talking about this, why don't you give us some of the local fighter report? What's going on with some of the fighters out of the gym right now and stuff? You got any word on some of the guys, any of their fights? I know Maximus wasn't going to fight. You said with this fight out, he was supposed to fight on the Benavidez undercard, right?
Yeah, no, bro, we made a mistake. So the fight, Benavidez fight took place at Gila River in Arizona. And then the Zerto fight took place in Ontario.
Yes.
2 weeks ago. That's right. That's where so Max was supposed to fight on that card, but he just, he was just a little bit, I think he wasn't on weight. He could have made the weight, but I think it would have been too short of a time span to make it healthy. So they're holding him off for an upcoming fight. Carlos Castro is fighting July the 9th against Brandon Figueroa.
It's a great fight.
Yeah. I think that one's going to be in San Antonio, Texas.
Cool. Hopefully I'll be there, man.
That'll be the co-main event. The main event's going to be Mark Magsayo versus another good fighter. Who is it? Who is it? Magsayo versus the Filipino that.
Oh, is he going up against Casilla? I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it right now. But Mark Magsayo, yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting somebody that we know. It's going to be it's a good main event.
Actually, I didn't think Mark Magsayo won that fight against Gary Russell myself personally, but that's just me. I thought Gary Russell.
I thought it was a very close fight, but the scorecards were ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It made no sense.
But I think Carlos Castro, like I said again, I know Robert's did a great job with them stuff like this. I think Carlos Castro was just put in a situation in his fight against Luis Nery where who expected Luis Nery to do that much work?
Oh, come out there Ray Vargas. He's fighting Ray Vargas.
Oh man, that's gonna be a great fight, dude. Great fight, man. Shoot, that's the money right there.
Yeah,
that's a toss-up, man. I have to actually go with Ray Vargas, man. I have to say, man, that guy's he's a tall fighter. He's a kind of almost like a Sebastian Bandor for that weight class, dude. I'm telling you, dude. That's a tough fight.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Carlos Castro, like I said, I mean, I think he's one of the best young prospects in that division. He's a guy who comes in, he's got power, you could tell he's a very disciplined fighter, very well-schooled fighter, comes from a good amateur background, but just went in there against a Luis Nery that honestly fought the best fight of his career. That was not the Luis Nery that fought against, what's his name? Brandon Figueroa, right? Brandon Figueroa. That was not the same Luis Nery.
Yeah.
That was the Luis Nery of old. So for some reason, he kind of had this little switch and decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll say it again against Brandon Figueroa. It's real simple. Keep your back off the ropes. Keep him in the middle of the ring, and you're going to beat him. He'll eventually expose him. And where Brandon's going to make a mistake is that people talk about the power of Luis Nery. They haven't seen the power of Carlos Castro. Carlos Castro has one punch, devastating knockout power. Not on the level of a guy like Chon Zepeda, but it's right there. So I mean, if Brandon Figueroa could end up walking into something really big in this, because I'm sure that's what Robert and them are looking at. They're gonna try to expose those boxing flaws that Brandon Figueroa has so many of.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Chon, isn't it his birthday today?
Yeah, Chon Zepeda's birthday.
Happy birthday, Chon. To Jose Chon Zepeda. Yeah.
Yeah, it's his birthday today. Yeah, so Carlos got that fight coming. Renee was supposed to fight a few weeks ago in Arizona, and the opponent backed out, and then the second opponent backed out, and it's back to the drawing board. He's training, and he's supposed to fight June the 11th. No, I'm sorry, June the 4th, right here in Ontario on a local show.
Well, Munguia's in June too, right?
Munguia is June 11th.
June 11th, yeah.
So so June the 4th, Renee. Well, that's 2 weeks from this weekend, I think, right? No. It's a week from this Saturday. So what is that? Yeah.
Did you guys talk about Canelo opting to do the rematch?
Not yet.
At all? Yeah. Okay.
We're gonna get into that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you guys talked about that yet or not. But
yeah, we'll get to that right now. So let's go ahead and jump into that, AJ. So let's talk, since we know what's coming up this weekend. Oh, anybody want to make predictions then? So Raleigh, AJ, you think Rolly's going to pull it out? Eric, you think he's got a good shot too?
I think if he goes in there hard charging, he could end up winning enough rounds. So hopefully, but then again, they'll never give him a decision no matter what.
He's got to go in there and knock Tank out,
Yeah,
or just beat him up.
He would have to knock Tank out. And quite honestly, I'd like to see that. So I'll say Rolly in under 9.
Yeah,
that's my prediction. Rolly 9 rounds or less.
I think Tank's got all the ability to make this. It's up to Tank whether or not it's going to be a tough night or an easy night. It all depends. But my biggest issue with Tank right now is this sovereign mentality of his, this very cool, calm demeanor. Even though he talks a lot of shit at the press conference, when it comes fight time, he falls into this very surreal kind of, I don't know what's going on with him and stuff.
It's like a sleep state.
And you got to bring the fire, man. And if I'm his people, I'm telling him right now, man, he's got to bring the fire. I'm going to say a 1-3 shot with Rolly. Rolly knows he's got one shot, and that's to land a big shot, put Tank on his ass and stuff, and keep him on his ass. If he doesn't do that, if it doesn't happen before 3 rounds, I got Tank in a stoppage 6 or 7 rounds. I think Rolly runs out of gas, Tank captures him with an uppercut, puts him to sleep. That's it.
I was going to say the same thing. If this fight ends in under 3 or 4, I must say in under 4 rounds, Rolly has a chance. If it goes past 4, Tank will catch up to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and jump to some fights that are either signed or being discussed or are pretty much confirmed. Well, I guess maybe they're going to happen, but maybe not confirmed in the media yet. So obviously, the big one everybody's talking about is, I guess, Canelo has opted to.
Is that your internet or mine?
Is it skipping around? Eric,
no, you're good, bro. You're good. It's Eric's.
It might be Eric. It might be because you're on your phone. Triple G is going to get his 3rd fight with Canelo.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think it's I think based off of Canelo's performance, and there's no excuses. I can have people talk about and say, well, Canelo did this vegan diet. Listen, the bottom line is, at this stage in your career, you should know what works and what doesn't work. The bottom line is, Bivol was too big. You're lucky he wasn't a puncher. You probably would have got put to sleep if it was a guy who can actually punch. That's the one thing with Bivol is he doesn't punch. His punches weren't really hurting Canelo. It was more of a frustrating thing. But I thought he did exactly what he had to do to beat him. He fought like the big man. He treated Canelo like the little man. Canelo now is in a situation where he's going to be more at an equal stature. So, it's a better shot for Canelo. So, the money's going to be bigger with Gennady. And then, we'll see what happens.
What chances do you guys give Gennady in that fight?
I mean, I look at it this way. Anything could happen. I just haven't seen Gennady look very good in a while. But then again, you got to look at the people he's fighting.
He didn't look
what's he saying? Opponents make fights. And let's be honest, there's no love lost between Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez. So if Gennady's going to fight at his best and his most intense, it's going to be on this night. Yeah. He's not going to bring that same intensity. His lack of intensity against guys like maybe Steve Rolls and Sarah Menza is to be expected.
Yeah.
But, I still think Gennady's getting hit a little bit more than usual. But then again, Canelo got hit a lot in this last fight. But I'm not going to compare Gennady to Bivol, because Bivol is a very, very accurate puncher and a much bigger guy. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
I hear a radio or something. You guys hear a radio or something going?
Nope. Not me.
Huh. Okay. I think it's a 50-50 fight still, even with
absolutely.
Even that Gennady's aged a little bit in the last couple of years. I do think it's a 50-50 fight still, and I'm still of the opinion that he got robbed in the first fight. Canelo, let's put it this way: Canelo did eke out the second fight, but I think Triple G won the first fight more convincingly than Canelo won the second fight.
I agree.
Even though they called it a draw, that's nonsense. He won that fight. He won at least 7-8 rounds of that fight.
I completely agree. My only thing is, I look at it this way: is who's progressed farther as far as a fighter in his evolution as a boxer since their last fight. And you got to say it's Canelo rather than Triple G. Triple G just hasn't fought. Murata was the toughest guy he fought. And let's be honest, Murata had fought almost 2 years. The guy comes back and was really putting it on Gennady. That's not a good sign. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, when you're going to get in there against a guy, not to say that Gennady doesn't have the tools to beat, who knows? Gennady might flip the script and go in there and just completely go back to be the Gennady of old. Exactly what happened with so many other fighters. But
look what just happened this past weekend with John Pascal.
Exactly.
Right?
You
We,
never
we
know.
thought he was
Sometimes,
on the downside, and what does he do? He comes out.
sometimes guys just come out there and find the right method in which to do it and stuff. So, to be honest with you, I'm kind of waiting for the guys like Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez to kind of call it a day and step aside and let some of these other fighters kind of start making. I'm starting to feel like it's like that MMA thing where it's like they kept fighting the same people against the same people. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm not really excited for a third bout between these two guys. I wasn't all that excited about the first two bouts. I want to see other fights. I want to see guys like Munguia up there. I want to see guys up there like, maybe this Janabek and, I want to see some other
Janabek
people
was
in
awesome.
the mix. You know what I'm saying? I want to see what Charlo can do against maybe a guy like Janabek or Charlo against a guy like Munguia. Those are fights I'm looking forward to. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G is, to me, it's just like a novelty,
It's like
And that's
watching
how I
Sugar
feel.
Ray
That's
and
how I
Duran
feel,
again.
I mean, because really, whoever wins, it's not going to make them the best. If Canelo beats Triple G, he didn't beat the best middleweight because I don't think Triple G is the best middleweight right now.
No.
I don't think he's the best middleweight, and most people out there don't think he's the best middleweight. So you got to beat the best middleweight. And to me, right now, I mean, who's got the biggest name in the middleweight? It's going to be Jamal Charlo. Number 2, it's going to be Jaime Munguia. I think Munguia is the better middleweight. He just hasn't been given the opportunity yet. But Jamal Charlo, to me, is the guy who's got the name. He's the guy who's been fighting the fighters where Triple G hasn't. So there it is.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree.
Me too.
The middleweight division is good. I mean, and then supposedly the Jermell Charlo is supposed to be making his decision very soon if he's going to either vacate that strap or move to 160. Like I said, I think he's going to go to 160. I do. I think he's going to vacate 154, go to 160, and then there'll be another guy at 160, and I think his brother's going to move up. I think once Benavidez moves up to 175, once he gets frustrated, says I can't get Canelo, there's nothing for him to do at 168 because Canelo's got all the belts. Once that happens, and once Benavidez ascends to the next division, that's when you'll see Jamal Charlo move up because he doesn't want to fight Benavidez.
He doesn't want to fight Benavidez.
So he's just sitting, waiting and going, okay, he's going to go, okay, and then he's going to follow suit. That's what I think.
I got a bigger question, bro. Have they changed the rules in boxing? Because how is Canelo allowed to go and fight for titles at 175 and now at 160 and holding all the straps at 168 and not doing any mandatories? What's going on there?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Well, you saw what the WBA just did, right? And I thought it was ironic that the WBA, basically is stripping Josh Taylor of his one fourth of his titles. They're going to take that belt and they're going to have that Puerto Rican guy fight that 39-year-old guy from Venezuela for the WBA strap.
What Puerto Rican guy?
He's some Puerto Rican guy. His name's he's undefeated, but he's very limited. He's a PBC fighter. So the WBA phone call was made. Al Heyman makes a phone call, talks to what's the guy, Gilberto Mendoza, the president of the WBA, right? They sanctioned this fight. So Josh Taylor, when he fights Chon Cepeda, they're talking about that fight right now. He's only going to be for 3 of the 4 belts.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I think if anybody deserves a crack at all 4, like Catterall got the crack at all 4, Chon deserves it way more than Jack Catterall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chon's been beating top guys.
But do you honestly think, I mean, because I still got my reservations when it comes to Josh Taylor accepting that fight based off of his performance. If I'm Josh Taylor's management and his trainer, and based off of his performance against Jack Catterall, no disrespect to Jack Catterall, but a great fight. But in what world does Jack Catterall fit in that mold with Chon Cepeda? Okay, if you're getting dropped by Jack Catterall, you're going to sleep from Chon Cepeda. People can say, well, Jack Catterall's a better boxer. No, he's not. You guys haven't really seen Chon box. Chon is actually a boxer, first puncher, second. He only punches people when he gets pissed at him like he did Josue Vargas. You saw what happened there. That guy's still asleep. He almost lost his last fight because of the damage that was put on him.
Yeah, you're right.
He was still dizzy.
Do you really think Josh Taylor's people want that? His dad's in the hey, we don't need that fight. We don't need that fight,
Yeah, so going back to the whole Triple G thing or the whole Canelo thing, why is Canelo allowed to then go fight for the W? If there used to be a rule, if he would have won the 175-pound strap, he would have had to vacate either one of the 2, or they probably would have stripped him because they said he couldn't hold the 2 divisional champions.
I hate to say
at the same time, but
two pivotal fighters. It goes back farther to the Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns days.
Yeah,
but it really started with Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. They really destroyed the way that these commissions, how they they hold the length with the champions and what they can do, the leniency that they get.
Well, they created a bunch of gray area. There used to be black and white. Here are the rules. Now there's all kinds of gray area. I mean,
because it doesn't matter what weight class you're in. Each individual one is commissioned by a different set of people, a board. And so why is 168 going to give all the love to 175 and then hurt 168 and take a chance of losing guys like Benavidez or Caleb Plant or some of these other ones? Why would they take that risk? That's how it used to work back in the day, but it doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
You know? It's a mess,
right. But you know, to shorten it up, Canelo apparently is bigger than the game, which is why he's able to do what he wants. There's got to be some mandatories in there somewhere, right? There's got to be guys on the shelf at 168. Benavidez is one. He never lost the belt in the ring. He lost it once on the scales, and he lost it once for the unclean, the chemicals in his bloodstream. It wasn't sports enhancing drugs. Yeah. It was
cocaine,
recreational drugs, right?
Recreational drugs.
So
it was he's blow in Vegas, dude.
So if anybody deserves a shot, it's Benavidez, and if he doesn't get a shot, then I think he should just go to 175 and go. This guy's never going to fight me. He's never going to fight me, so I'm going to just go to 175. See if I can.
As strong as Benavidez is where he is now at 175, I see him so much stronger. You know what I mean?
Think so?
I think so. I really do.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
He's a big kid. And if he had that little bit of extra weight and could actually, that would, he'd be even more devastating, I think, at 175.
I think Benavidez could clean house at 175, with the exception of a couple dark horses that might give him a run for his money. One of them being, I think, Colin Smith, and the other one possibly being Arthur Benavidez, just based on pure toughness. I think he cleans the clocks on everybody else in that division, but that's me personally.
Yeah. Let's talk about, so let's jump into that really quick then. So there is another, we were alluding a little bit to the whole sanctioning organization. So the talk right now is that Zepeda and Taylor are negotiating that fight right now for 3 of the 4 belts, which is not bad. So, Chon will have the opportunity to fight for 3, if not 4 of the belts, but, better than nothing. But what do you guys think? If that fight does come up, how do you guys see that fight going?
Go ahead, Eric. You can go first.
I think Chon destroys him, quite honestly. I mean, Josh Taylor's is good, but Chon, it would knock him out.
Yeah. I remember when we were watching Catterall versus Taylor, I was actually sending Renee Zepeda a text message saying, are you watching these straight left hands that Catterall's landing on
all night?
All night he was landing them on Taylor, and Jack Catterall don't have half the power as the Chon.
And every one of them was telegraphed. You could have put a freaking FedEx message on it. So they came over so slowly, but no speed on them. I'll tell you what Josh Taylor's biggest issue is, and it's the one that I feel I blame myself for such an oversight. And that's the fact is Josh Taylor was never really that good in the first place. His claim to fame was his victory over probably what I thought was one of the better fighters in Regis Prograis. But up to that point, look at some of the people that he beat were guys that Chon Zepeda had already beaten. Chon has his ups and downs, but Chon has a viable excuse. It was his mental state. Chon's one of those guys that you could tell he doubts himself. And when you doubt yourself as a fighter, it's going to affect you in the ring. Josh Taylor never had a lack of confidence going into a ring until he got in there with Jack Catterall. And Jack Catterall went in there and said, you know what? You can have all the confidence in the world, but I'm going to show just what limited abilities you have. Jack Catterall is a local product. He's a guy that's not known outside of the UK. And he went in there and he completely exposed Josh Taylor. And the fact that Josh Taylor sat there as a champion and accepted that victory and actually tried to make excuses why he thought he completely dominated shows you the lack of reality that's inside Josh Taylor's head.
Catterall won that fight.
The one who's going to open up Josh Taylor's head, probably open up his cranium and make him realize all the mistakes that he made in the past is that left hand from Chon Zepeda.
Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't go that far to say he's not a good fighter. I mean,
I don't mean he's not a good fighter.
Taylor
He's not the fighter that I thought he was.
No, but he did all the heavy lifting at 140. He fought.
He did.
He won all of those belts individually.
Absolutely. And I gave him credit for all that.
But yeah, you're right. I lost a lot. I like Josh Taylor still, but I lost a lot of respect for him.
It kind of makes you look at the opponents that were part of that Super Six. If guys like Jack Catterall, Chon Zepeda were part of that Super Six, would Josh Taylor have won that title?
No.
Nope.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
No.
If you have to look at the people that were involved in that and who he beat, with exception to that close fight that could have went either way with him and Regis Prograis, he really didn't, his fight over Ramirez, yeah, but then again, he's got Ramirez down. Ramirez comes back and has his opportunities. I don't remember Ramirez hurting Chon Zepeda one time in that fight.
I'm just so glad that they didn't, subvert Jones and give Ramirez that shot, because I know Bob Arum was pushing hard for that.
I'm sure Ramirez didn't want it, bro. Based off of his last, I'm sure he didn't want it.
No, he wanted an easy crack back at the belts. He wanted his revenge against Josh Taylor. There's no doubt he wanted it, but I'm so glad they didn't make it happen. Fernando Beltran and Zamper, they must have really put their foot down and said, we're going to tie you guys up in so much litigation if you allow Ramirez to leapfrog Zepeda.
Yeah.
So,
well, like I said, we'll see. It'd be great to see if that fight happens. I don't have a lot of I just don't have a lot of confidence when it comes to if Josh Taylor's people are going to want to, because I think they still got a sour taste in their mouth from Catterall. And I think they got to cleanse their mouth of that Catterall taste before they can move forward.
Yeah, this is not the kind of guy. This is not basically like a tune-up to get back into fighting fit. This is not the guy.
Well, the thing is
punch could end it all.
Remember, we said it before, Mike. Whenever you see a fighter and he refuses to mention another fighter's name, and go back and look at every interview with Josh Taylor.
Yeah,
he never misses. He never mentions Chon Zepeda, the number one contender. He mentions everybody else in the division. He's even mentioned guys like Mario Barrios and Tank Davis, but he never mentions Chon Zepeda. There's a reason why. His trainer knows why. He knows why. I think, honestly, at this point, Josh Taylor, if he takes the fight, I give him credit. I don't think the fight goes very long. I think Josh Taylor is going to relinquish even more titles. He's going to look for the low mandatory somewhere, and he's going to be happy taking that back to Belfast and living out the rest of his career fighting local products. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Do you want to be a champion and looked upon as like the third best fighter in the world, or you want to risk it all and then go home with nothing? Because that's what he's doing, And then if Zepeda wins that fight, that only sets up big things, because I would love to see it. Honestly, I would love to see a guy like Tank Davis beat Rolly and then turn around and go, if Zepeda wins the title, and then think he could do the same thing he did to Mario Barrios against Chon Zepeda, because then the script gets flipped, But you're not going to see those kind of fighters.
Yeah, he's going to stay. If he has any trouble with Rolly, then he'll stay where he's at. He might even go back down to 130, because there's no doubt he can make 130. He's a very small guy. What is he? 5'5.5"?
5'5", man. I didn't realize how small Tank was until I really looked at him in that thing, and I didn't realize how small Isaac Cruz was.
Yeah.
He's small. He's a tiny guy, man. But
you guys, let's talk about one more big fight, because we got about 10 minutes left. And this is something, obviously, it's about a week and a half away, and we need to. It's actually a week and a half away, like about 10 days, I think, from now. And that's George Cambosis versus Devin Haney in Melbourne, Australia. It's going to happen on it's on a Saturday there, but I think for us, it's going to be. They're fighting on, I believe, Sunday in Australia, so it'll be Saturday, 6 o'clock our time, or 7 o'clock your time, AJ.
Okay.
But it'll be Sunday, I believe, in Australia.
Big fight.
What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I can't wait for that fight, quite honestly.
I'm excited for that. I'll go first on this one. I'll make it brief. I think that this is a fight that's going to determine two things. It's going to determine, based off of Cambosis' victory over Teofimo Lopez, is he that good? And for Devin Haney, this is going to show if Devin Haney is really the class that he feels he is. Devin Haney has tools, but he hasn't, I'm going to say it again, he hasn't really been in there with a guy that can equal his speed or equal his athleticism. Well, now he's in there with a guy that can equal both. So it's going to be a different night for Devin Haney. He's going to have to really be the tough guy in this fight, because George Cambosis, in front of probably 50,000, screaming Australians, is going to be the tough guy. He understands that, there is going to be no, he understands that Devin's going to come in with that knockout mentality, because Devin doesn't think he's going to get a decision. And I think that's a big mistake on Devin's part. I think Devin can get a decision.
That's going to play right into
Cambosis. Yep. So Devin's going to take chances, and that's going to cost him, because we've seen that soft shit on Devin.
Yep.
So, yeah. And I actually saw member of his team, when they touched down in Australia, said, I'll say Devin's a skilled fighter, and whatever
Absolutely.
he fought the hard way. He came up the hard way fighting in Tijuana and whatever. But when one of the members of his team said, he's the stronger fighter. Stronger is one thing he is not over George Cambosis.
No.
George Cambosis is a physically bigger, stronger guy. He's 5'9.5". Devin Haney's what, 5'7", 5'8". I mean, he's physically strong. Cambosis, he's a strong guy and strong-willed.
I got to wait to make it real easy. After Devin Haney's fight, during the entire fight, every time Devin Haney hit Jojo Diaz with a combination, all you heard from the commentator was, how is Jojo Diaz taking these punches? And when they asked Jojo Diaz how it was, Jojo Diaz says, real simple, he doesn't hit that hard. End of story.
Yeah, he doesn't have any pop at all. Like I said, Renee sparred with Devin Haney
that hard
multiple times. He says he's got speed and a good jab, no pop at all.
And that's going to be the problem.
Like Shakur Stevenson, they got no pop. They got no pop.
Well,
yep.
I mean, let's be honest. Teofimo Lopez has a pretty good chin. He's got a pretty good chin. We've seen him in his.
Well, he's a durable guy because he's physically big. He was always big for 135.
He's bigger than Devin Haney.
He's
a thick guy. And you saw what happened when George Cambosis took one big shot right over the top, planted him, and that changed the whole. I mean, all you do is look at Teofimo's face after the fight.
Yeah.
Don't think that you don't. I honestly think that if Cambosis comes in and plays the tough guy, does not play the role as the catcher, he's got to be the pitcher, man. He's got to go out there and let his hands go. If you wait for Devin Haney, he's going to stack up the points, and it's going to be a long night. He has to fight like the tough guy.
Yeah, he needs to go in like he did against Teofimo.
Yeah.
Exactly what he needs to do.
If you're not afraid to go toe-to-toe with Teofimo Lopez, I better not hear shit against Devin Haney. Believe me.
Yeah, there's different levels of toughness.
Completely different levels.
Devin Haney doesn't strike me as a tough guy at all. He doesn't.
So what's your guys' prediction? I'm going with Cambosis, and I think it's going to be a stoppage. I think Cambosis stops him around the 7th round.
I think Cambosis is going to stop him. I think Cambosis is honestly. I think he'll either stop him mid to late rounds or win a comfortable decision. I do.
I think you're about right. I'm gonna shoot for the 9th round again. So Cambosis in under 9.
9th round, yeah.
Unanimous.
I mean, but then again, I mean, he might. I mean, he might catch him if he catches him with that same right hand that he caught Teofimo with. Man, it could be over early.
Yeah, I think Cambosis knows that because if you remember what they were talking about earlier about with the Jojo Diaz fight, Devin Haney's a notorious slow starter. He was a slow starter going in the fight against Linares. He was a slow starter going in the fight against Jojo Diaz. Cambosis is a notorious fast starter.
And if Linares would have caught him at the start of the 10th round instead of the end of the 10th round in that fight, he wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
Nope.
Yeah,
he'd have been over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Hey, did I hear this wrong? I thought Canelo was going to refight Bivol as well. No.
Well, he's opted for. He's opted for the. I know who's probably the most mad out of everybody is probably Dimitri Bivol. I don't know if you guys know this, but his purse was only $5 million.
I believe it.
And he was the champion. And apparently he still hasn't been paid because of the sanctions right now against Russia. He hasn't been able to fully collect his money.
That's fucking terrible.
Oh,
and I know, and he said it after the fight. He says, I just hope if in the rematch they treat me like the champion. Now he knows he's not going to get more than Canelo, but God dang, more than $5 million. He's the champion.
Here's the thing is, the biggest issue that Dimitri Bivol is going to be is right off the bat they're gonna dislike him because it's whole Russian. I don't dislike him because of the whole Russia situation. I don't dislike the guy at all.
Not at all.
I just don't think he's got the style that's going to set the boxing world on fire. And that's going to be his downfall.
3-4 years ago he did, but not now.
Yeah, but not now.
Hey, but listen to this though. Listen to this. If this rematch happens, and I think it will, right? I
don't think it will. I think Canelo's going to.
I thought I heard something that he
wants to fight the Triple G fight first, and then he wants to rematch Bivol.
Oh, fine. You know what? I think if that happens, Bivol makes him look like more of a fool. Quite honestly,
I don't think Bivol gets to that point because I think Bivol's got mandatories coming up. I think Bivol's going to get enticed to fight the winner of Joe Smith and Arthur Beterbiev, which is a more interesting bout, and that's going to be the bigger chance because let's be honest, if Bivol beats Canelo again, he beat a small guy again. He's got to go out and beat the cream of the crop of the class of the division, and that is Arthur Beterbiev and Joe Smith are two big guys in the division. Beating little
Yeah,
guys
but
ain't gonna get you there. You got to beat the big guys.
What do you think his street cred would be if he were to knock Canelo out in the 5th round, though?
He doesn't hit hard enough to knock Canelo out. He doesn't hit hard enough. Maybe back in the day he knew how to, but he's not going to learn that in.
But I mean, but now he kind of knows what Canelo has to offer. You know what I'm talking about? Now he can totally train to
like
to
Mike
do
just said, like the
necessary.
Gennady fight coming
I mean,
up. Fights can change through fights. You never know what's going to happen, what a guy's going to bring to the table. I look at it this way. Watching him fight Canelo, I know a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, I'd love to see that beating again, whatever. I want to see him fight Arthur Beterbiev. I think Arthur Beterbiev knocks out Joe Smith. I think he knocks out devastatingly early. I think Arthur Beterbiev goes in this fight, and I'd love to see that fight with Bivol, because that thing, now you got two legitimate light heavyweight champions fight for a title, not a guy who got a lot of concessions and a lot of scapegoats like Canelo to get that title shot. Let's get the cream of the, let's get it back to number one, number two, number one, like that, you know?
Yeah, boxing needs a course correction, like we said earlier.
Yeah,
correction.
man.
There's too much of this going on, and like you said, you could thank Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao for that.
Oh, real quick on the Floyd Mayweather sets. I don't really want to talk about it, but you know, he had that bout over in Dubai. I watched it.
Oh my God.
I got to be honest with you. I've never been so bored in my life. And you know me, I'm a guy who used to watch boxing on Telemundo when it was like the staticky snow and you could barely see the fighters and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this was the absolute worst of the worst. Floyd's skills, even against this Don Moore, I don't even know who this guy is, are so diminished. You could tell by his footwork how he moves his foot placement and throws his punches. His hair is receding. He's done. Okay. So
apparently he just announced he's going to fight again there in August or something like that.
Let him do whatever he wants to do. It's a clown show.
Yeah, nobody even
Every
cared
single
at this
person
point.
that went out there and tried to defend Floyd and say, "Oh, Floyd still got skills." I said, "Well, you don't know what skills are." Okay, let's be honest.
You know what I feel like. You know what I hate to say this, but you know what Floyd's going to end up doing? Floyd's going to end up standing in front of a casino like Joe Louis did all those years, being a greeter, shaking people's hands, because they're saying he had money issues already, because that's why he did this fight.
Jesus Christ!
It's very simple, man. You know what his monthly nut is, just to keep his everything going. He's got no fighters under Mayweather Promotions. He's got a couple of guys. I mean, he's losing Tank. Tank's already made it very clear. I don't know if you saw the interview with Brian Custer, but this is his last fight with Mayweather Promotions. He's done with Floyd after this fight.
And I think that's the best thing Tank's ever done, bro, for himself.
No, you're right. But what I'm saying, I mean, Floyd, you can run out of money, man. Trust me, as much as money when you're spending like $10,000 a minute, you know, the cars and the houses and the upkeep and then this and then that, you know.
Oh, you're absolutely right, bro. You're absolutely right, bro.
It's crazy.
I think we're about over an hour here, guys.
Yeah, we're good.
Hey, good show today, guys. Hey, Eric, I hope Bobo feels good, man. Give him a kiss for me and something. I'll pray for him tonight. Mike, take us
out. Do you have him back home right now or what?
Yeah, he's home. We got to wait a couple of days.
Did they bandage it or something, or?
No, they just you know, took a little bit of it out, and you know, they just I'm worried that it's going to rupture. If it ruptures, man, that's going to suck. Yeah. You know,
he's not biting at it, is he?
He's licking at it, but it's, you know, we're trying to keep him away from that. So I mean, poor Bobo.
Put some chili on it. That's what I do to my dogs. Put some chili on it, dude.
All right, fellas. Hey, good show, man. It's good catching up with you guys too.
Hey, good to see you guys. Hey, so, Michael,
we'll be back on Sunday because we're gonna.
Construction going good?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. It's just, you know, it's a lot of work, man. It's a mess, but it's going good.
All right,
my brothers.
You guys have a good night. Hey,
I'm losing my light in here.
All right. Hey, so we'll go ahead and sign off now. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. We're going to be back on Sunday to talk about this fight. Who knows? We might have some more interesting news on Sunday. We might see an upset this weekend. That would be great for boxing. For all of us to Enter the Ring Live, I'm your host, Mighty Mike.
AJ Rage.
And Eric the Red.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night, bros. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Bye.